The Biden press conference was widely viewed as a major disaster as his approval rating continues to fall. In this video, we're going to take a look at the cringe-worthy excuse for a press conference the other day, how it's being utterly trashed even by liberal pundits, and how Biden's falling approval rating forecasts a massive red wave for the 2022 midterms. You are not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Wonderful to be with you. As always, we're here to give you each and every single day conservative hope in the midst of these turbulent and trying times, helping you to think better so you can feel better and provide for you a patriot path to freedom. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Also, for you podcast fans, we've now reached over 2 million podcast downloads. So make sure to click on that link below and sign up for our various podcast platforms. And we've also got links to our Rumble and Parler channels down below. We'd love for you to subscribe to them as well. Before we dive into things here, did you know that a new study shows that omega-3s have a direct impact on reversing the effects of aging? It's really pretty impressive. Researchers found that omega-3s protect and even lengthen a key biomarker for aging in our bodies. They're called telomeres. Now, protecting the telomeres in our body is crucial for anti-aging because telomeres generally shorten with age. But here's the problem. Getting the right type of omega-3s to combat aging and protect telomeres, it's very difficult given the typical American diet. So that's why I highly recommend Omega with Steve. It gives you the right type of omega-3s that promote anti-aging. And if you click on that link below, you're going to get Omega with Steve at 51% off plus free shipping. But it gets even better. Order today and get this. You're going to get free VIP live health and fitness coaching for life, as well as a free new e-report titled The 30 Best and Worst Inflammation Fighting Foods. So do not wait. Click on that link below. Get Omega with Steve and help reverse the effects of aging today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. By all accounts, yesterday's so-called presidential press conference was utterly painful to watch. It was so painful at so many different levels. It was painful watching Biden having to read off prepared statements on issues, particularly about North Korea, that were prepared for him by his staffers. It was painful to watch the mainstream media coddle Biden with some of the most pathetic puffball questions imaginable. It was painful to watch the scripted, choreographed Q&A back and forth where questions were obviously pre-screened and only a select few of friendly reporters were called upon. That was, in fact, admitted by an NBC reporter. It was reported on by Fox. Speaking of Fox, if you don't know yesterday's so-called press conference, how bad it was, even the ultra-left Trump hater Chris Wallace said it was a disaster. That's how bad it was. Wallace was incredulous. Quote, I have to say, I was also struck by the fact that it seemed on every foreign policy question, not the others, but on foreign policy, he went to his briefing book like Jen Psaki does sometimes in the briefings and was reading what was obviously White House guidance, White House talking points. And so Wallace noted that after covering Ronald Reagan for 6 years, he said, I never saw that. Watching a lot of news conferences over the years, I've never seen that. A president at a news conference reading talking points. He did that on, it seemed, every foreign policy question. Well, as Tucker Carlson put it, that's because Biden's staff obviously didn't trust his answers. They were afraid that given Biden's cognitive state, he could state something that could spark an international incident. It was just utterly ridiculous. In fact, to call it a press conference is an insult to press conferences. It was not, emphatically not a press conference. It was kabuki theater. It was a choreographed performance between media and state that would make Kim Jong-un jealous. In yesterday's video on the Cuomo scandal involving preferential treatment for Cuomo's family at the beginning of the whole COVID outbreak, a preferential treatment that, by the way, included his brother Chris, who's an anchor over at CNN, one of the big three cable networks. We noted on that video that we now officially have a state-run media, or perhaps much better, we have a media-run state. It's becoming increasingly clear that we're living in a time that's dominated by what some scholars have called virtual politics. Virtual politics involves so-called journalists and big tech oligarchs functioning as political technologists. It's a term that scholars use to describe how the media functions like Well, like spin doctors or gaslighters, right? It's long been recognized that what the mainstream media focuses on or what current events get attention is a major, major driver of what counts as a viable political agenda, which of course is always radical left. But it goes so much deeper than that. And that's where you get this notion of virtual politics or media personalities as political technologists. What modern day political technologists do is they go beyond simply promoting their own favorite candidates or causes. Instead, they actually they manufacture entire political narratives, which actually includes the opposition, all ultimately in an effort to keep themselves in power. Political technologists act as political meta-programmers who basically construct the whole narrative by which our politics operates, including the opposition. So the mainstream media doesn't just provide a narrative of support for Biden and the far left and cultural Marxists and Democrats and the like. They also provide the definitive narrative for their political opponents. And that, of course, would be Trump and the Republicans. So they've, in effect, scripted out this whole kabuki theater that we're supposed to believe as political reality. And the wonderful news is it's not working. I mean, even members of the media found the whole press puff conference absolutely cringeworthy. Tim Graham of Fox News called it an utter media embarrassment. He frankly called out taxpayer-subsidized PBS White House correspondent Yamiche Alcindor, who's as woke can get, a woke supremacist, as Senator Tim Scott would like to call it. He called her out, this cringeworthy editorializing question. Get this, quote, "You said over and over again, Mr. Biden, that immigrants shouldn't come to this country right now. This isn't the time to come. That message is not being received. Instead, the perception of you that got you elected as a moral, decent man is a reason why a lot of immigrants are coming to this country and are trusting you with unaccompanied minors." Can you even fathom that comment? That comment brings up the notion of political pandering to an entirely new level. Her follow-up question, though, was even worse. Get this, quote, "Immigration is a big issue, of course, when it related to the filibuster, but there's also Republicans who are passing bill after bill trying to restrict voting rights. Chuck Schumer calling it an existential threat to democracy. Why not back a filibuster rule that at least gets around issues including voting rights or immigration?" I mean, did you catch that? Immigration, Senate filibuster, H.R. 1, the total undermining of election integrity. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, restricting voting rights and what Chuck Schumer, the paragon of virtue, calls an existential threat to democracy, right? Voter ID and all. I mean, we did a video on this yesterday, filibuster, H.R. 1. We did it with gun control. We pointed out all three of these issues right now are basically dead in the water as far as the Senate's concerned. Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema, and other Democrat senators, they just don't want to mess with the filibuster. They're not at all interested in H.R. 1 in its present form. It's 800-page morass. They're rejecting new gun control pushes. So I can't help but think that yesterday's choreographed virtual politics that was billed as a press conference was an actual attempt to put pressure on Democrat senators to get what the far-left cultural Marxist program is fully advocated by the leftist activists disguised as journalists in that pathetic excuse for a press corps. Again, I think the good news here is that very few people seem to be buying this. What happened yesterday was so over-the-top obvious. It was so forced, it was so poorly executed that more and more voters are starting to question the very integrity of both sets of actors, right? Biden as well as the media. More and more people are losing interest, or they're not even buying this kabuki theater, and they are becoming very disillusioned with Biden, and we're seeing it in the polls. Now, before we get into that, if you are looking for a hopeful and encouraging alternative to all the fake news nonsense that we're seeing from the kabuki theater types, the virtual politics types of CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times, you're going to find no better antidote than what's in the pages of my book, The Return of Christendom. Do not take my word for it, gang, though you should, of course. Just read through those reviews on Amazon. There's over 260 of them, and you'll see how this book cuts through all the cynicism and despair that we so often feel living in this crazy globalist world. In page after page, you're going to get all the data, the stats, The indicators show nothing less than a new conservative Christian majority is indeed rising throughout the United States and even in Europe, and it's already transforming the world map into a more nationalist, populist, and traditionalist world. And if you click on that link below, we're offering it for a limited time at a 50% discount. That's right, 50% off, but do not wait. This is a limited time offer. Click on that link, get your book at a super awesome discount today, and arm yourself with the hopeful information you need to crush fake news once and for all. All right, so like I said, the American people, they're just not buying this pathetic attempt at virtual politics anymore. According to Rasmussen, Biden's approval rating slipped last Monday to under 50%. It was what Rasmussen called a sharp decline, with Biden falling to 49% approval. Then on Tuesday, his approval rating slipped by another point to 48%. He remained stable on Wednesday, but then as of Thursday, the day of his press conference, his approval fell to 47%, with 51% disapproving of his job performance. So it appears we're seeing a falling average here. Again, we need to keep in mind, he's only been in office for barely 60 days, and he's already underwater. He's already consistently under 50% approval with over 50% disapproval, which is already spelling disaster for the midterms. Remember, historically, the party of presidents who are under 50% approval lose on average 37 seats in the midterm. So we could be seeing the beginnings of an absolute bloodbath in 2022. And if Biden keeps having cringe-worthy so-called press conferences like this, we can be fairly certain that a massive red wave is not far away. Now, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, subscribe to my channel, and then definitely click on the link and check out some of our awesome merch. And you also definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded. It's on how a bombshell report reveals that CNN's Chris Cuomo did in fact receive preferential treatment for COVID testing because of his relationship to his governor brother, Andrew Cuomo. You're not going to want to miss it, so make sure to click on the link, and I will see you over there. God bless.